question is, what are a few differences in the continental style as opposed to the American style? The continental style, the knife is in the right hand, fork in my left hand. Always keep in mind the handle of the utensil stops in the palm of your hand. Same for the knife and the fork. The index finger stops at the top and right there at the neck of the knife and the neck of the fork. Our fingers would never go on the blade of the knife because your handle should never stick out the back. So it stops in the palm, index finger stops at the neck. Same scenario here. In the continental style, we do not hide our hands on our lap. Your hands should be visible, which means your wrists are at the edge of the table. You make a nice soft fist. You have great conversations. You enjoy the experience. When you pause, your wrists are at the table, not on the table, at the edge of the table. And that's how you dine in the continental style. While dining in the continental style, if dining formally, be sure the fork is always downward. Never turn the fork upward when dining formally. It is very important. You want to cut in front of the fork, not behind and not between the tines. Cut gracefully in front of the fork. Only cut one piece at a time. When it is time to pause, you may need to use the restroom. Step away for a moment. We call this the upside down V. You place it right on the plate, making sure the handles hang off to make it easier for pickup. This is the pause position in continental style. Be sure that the fork is always downward. When finished, bring that fork over to accompany the knife. This is the continental dining style. There's so much more to it. Just keep in mind, don't hide your hands. Keep your wrists at the edge of the table. When pausing, you know that upside down V. And when finished, close those utensils, keeping the fork downward, of course. Enjoy. Here's how you would typically dine in the American style. Keep in mind the American dining style is also called the zigzag. When you're holding your knife and fork, make sure that the handle of your fork stops in the palm of your hand. It should never be out the back of your hand. It stops in the palm. Index finger lands at the top and stops right here at the neck, of course. Now, the knife is the same scenario. It stops in the palm, index finger stops at the neck of the knife, never down on the blade, right at the neck. Now, in the American dining style, you are permitted to place the knife in your dominant hand. My dominant hand is the right hand. So let's go. When we're cutting, be sure to cut in front. Now here comes the zigzag. Once you're finished cutting that one piece, because we only cut one piece at a time when dining. Once finished, place that knife at the top of the plate, making sure the cutting side of the knife faces you. You do not want the cutting side facing another guest. That's a big no-no. Always make sure it faces you. When you place that knife at the top, switch that fork to your dominant hand, now holding it like a pencil. The idle hand goes on your lap, unlike the continental, and you enjoy your portions. That is how we do it in the American style. When it is time to cut again, switch that fork back to your non-dominant hand, that index finger in place, retrieve your knife, that index finger in place, and we cut again. We continue until we are finished or we've had enough. The pause position in American dining style, your knife is already at the top. You will then place your fork in the 5 o'clock position between 4:20 and 6, and that is your pause position. Always consider your plate a clock when dining. When you are finished, that knife will be placed right next to the fork, and this says you are finished. Keep in mind, in the American style, the fork is upward. In the continental style, the fork is always downward.